Welcome to F the Nice Guy, featuring Mr. Pick Me and the Man.
Why? Why?
Straight from the Galapagos Islands. Reagan is back.
Did you miss me, friends? Because I sure missed you. I am alive. I am back. I'm slightly suntanned, and I swam with a shark.
I think it's really mean to our fill-in Kaylee that you think that they missed you that much. That's very insulting that you
She
think.
herself on the episode said we missed Reagan. So you can go ahead and that.
No, Kaylee is great, but she's no Reagan. Get out of here, Kaylee. You're not welcome here.
Kaylee, I do not approve of that message. I don't know why Chesko is being so rude. Also, I just want to have a question with all of our listeners, which is, why can you only do intros when I'm not present?
I think it was not as good as you think it was.
I heard it. You did the whole thing perfectly normal. Like, why are you not calling it the wrong show? Calling it a radio show.
Listen, I am sorry for being adequate when you were gone. I apologize for my competence. What can I do? Right? I think if I had done really badly without you here, wouldn't that be a form of weaponized incompetence, right? Where I'm like, I can't function without you, Reagan. How can I never weave me again? I'm just a poor widow boy who doesn't know how to do what are buttons.
Okay, but why are you using weaponized incompetence when I'm present then?
Listen, it is not weaponized incompetence. It is loving incompetence.
Non-lethal incompetence.
It is, it's trust incompetence. You know what? Like how they talk about how your kids are always like louder and angrier, yell more at home because they feel safe, right? They feel comfortable. I feel safe with you.
Are you my child in this scenario?
No, but I feel safe enough to be my normal, natural, incompetent self. I don't feel pressured to be competent around you because I have so much trust in you that I can just be myself.
That was
terrible.
Equally sweet as disturbing. So thank you for that, Chesko.
I feel like it's a form of gaslighting, even though I'm complimenting you.
Wait a second.
It does feel weird. I felt weird making that joke. I don't know why. It just the alarms went off in my head that it felt like I was gaslighting you there.
I mean, I think there was a little gaslighting going on. Yeah.
But it's
Is it loving gaslighting?
I do it because I love you, Reagan. I only do it because I love you.
I'm gonna get some comments from people being like, Reagan, the red flags,
red flags. Out. They're showing.
We knew it.
Would it not be doing a good job when you're gone?
We knew he was faking his bad intros. We knew it. Well, now we know. Okay.
Someone did say that what did I say to you? The intro was perfect. I hated it.
I actually saw comments about the intro before I heard the intro.
Yeah.
People were like, "Oh, Reagan's gonna be mad."
This show brought to you by weaponized incompetence. Weaponized competence.
Weaponized competence.
This is weaponized competence
for widow babies everywhere. Oh my god. Okay. Well, speaking of weaponized incompetence, I have a story for you today.
Exciting.
So much enthusiasm. What we will be talking about today is am I the asshole? Yes. Or am I overreacting when my husband ate all my food? And believe me, the details make this story much more nefarious.
From first glance, you were never overreacting for someone eating all your food.
Sir, that was your theme song cue.
Theme song.
You want bad advice? Man, I'll give it out gladly. I got some good advice for you. No, you don't. Like, no, you don't. I got some good advice for you. No, you don't. Like, no, you don't. Shit.
There you go. I can't even get that. I can't even get the one thing. I wasn't worried about it for once, Reagan. I wasn't worried about it.
That's because you twust me.
But no, but now it's back. Now it's never going away again. Now I'm gonna constantly be back. I had finally gotten out of my head about the theme song, and now here we
The
are.
demon was gone, and now the demon is back.
Been put back in me.
Jesus Christ. Okay, you ready for this?
I guess so.
It's am I overreacting? So when we decide on what the answer is, we're saying yes, you're overreacting, or no, you are not overreacting. Okay.
Got it.
Do you want me to read the whole story or break it up?
What do you think? You've read it before.
Well, I know where I'll break it up.
Okay. So there you go.
Okay.
Then answer has been had.
Wow. You're really weaponizing right now. Ow, I've been struck. Your incompetence.
I used it all up last week. Now you got leftovers.
Competence light.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the story, sorry. So I just had surgery on my stomach and intestines almost 2 weeks ago. Because of the surgery, I have to adhere to a very strict diet until I'm fully healed. If I stray from the diet, it could cause severe complications and possibly lead to death. The first 2 weeks after surgery, I can only eat/drink a full liquid diet. The most solid thing I can eat is pudding. I can't even have soup with any chunks of vegetables or meat in it, even if they're soft. There's not a lot of variety to choose from, and I'm not having a good time at all. Plus, I'm still having pain from the procedure and some nausea, and I've had to go in for IV fluids and iron twice now. Prior to surgery, I meal prepped for myself and for the family so I wouldn't have to worry about it after. I made meals for myself for every stage of the diet and with specific macro ingredients to meet my needs and comply with my other health problems. For example, I have celiac disease, so everything has to be gluten-free. I also follow a low-sugar, low-carb diet, so everything had to comply with that as well. I also made meals for him and our son, meals specifically requested by him. I stocked up on snacks they liked and asked for. We also have a fairly strict budget right now, so I made everything from scratch to save some money. About 1/4 of everything I made is in the freezer attached to our fridge for convenience sake. The rest is in the deep freeze in the garage. So most of the meals in the house freezer are gone, so I went out to the garage to restock. All of the meals I'd made for myself are gone. Just completely emptied out. I'm really upset because I have no energy right now to make more. Living off of liquids and having anemia will do that to a person. My diet is hopefully progressing to soft solids tomorrow, so I was really excited to be able to eat some of the food I'd made.
Can we talk first off about the idea of you're going into surgery, and so that you have to prepare food for the house for
Yes!
weeks afterwards?
That's what I thought! That was my
Like,
first thought.
that alone.
Red flag.
Like, what? And I know this
Yeah.
isn't it's I wish I could say I'm super surprised because I've heard stuff like this before, but it's like the absurdity
Mhm.
of you being like, okay, well, my poor widow husband doesn't know how to use a
A
stove.
stovetop.
So my kids will literally if he'll starve and my kids will starve if I don't pre-make weeks worth of meals as I recover from a major surgery that puts me on a liquid diet. That alone.
It's bad enough. Like, oh, I can't expect my husband to take care of me
Yeah.
when I've just had surgery. Like, that sucks. That's bad enough. Like, I can't
Mhm.
expect he's going to make food for me, which maybe she's at home, maybe he's working. I don't know. That's kind of rough enough. The fact that, like, I'll pre-prep that because I already know he's not going to help me, right?
Mhm.
But then to your point, I'm going to make their meals also
Mhm.
because they can't make their own food.
Mhm.
For her to work that hard and have such insight, that's how much she knows her husband is going to be weaponizedly incompetent. You know?
Just to give like if an example for my current life right now, my wife is going on vacation for I bought her a vacation to visit her friend.
Mhm.
She's gonna be gone for 6 days. Do you know how many meals she's prepped for the house? And
Not
it's
a
not
one.
like and do you know how many like lists she's had to make me? Do you know how many like pre-things she's had to make sure that I knew about all these everything? Zero.
Right.
Right. And I'm also and this is why I don't feel a lot of sympathy for the guys that are like this. I work two full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Literally, I have two full-time jobs, right? She does do a lot of the day-to-day stuff, right? A lot of, like, in general, that's kind of just because of our schedules.
Sure.
But I'm still making a point to be involved and know what is going on in my kids' life and our
Yep.
family life. And that when something like this happens where she's leaving, right? She just can go enjoy herself, right?
Right.
I'm not going to be text, and that's not a flex. That is not a look how impressive I am. That is just a basic parenting, because I'm sure it's the exact same for you and your wife,
Yes.
where if one of you leaves, even though there's certain things you might do better, but one doesn't panic about
Right.
having to do the things around the house because you're involved, right? And the only reason it's not, if you don't get to call it a flex in your house just because you're both women, I don't get to call it a flex in my house because the bar has been set so low for dads.
And here's the crazy thing is in this case, like you're talking about like a trip or like
Right.
most of the time I leave for like a work thing.
Hmm.
Like I go out of town to work. Like that's when, I think I'm like, okay, you'll prep sometimes, just make sure
Right.
do they
There's
have
certain things to
sure.
make sure. Yeah,
But
yeah,
this isn't even that. This is she's injured. This is
yeah,
she needs help.
yeah,
In sickness
yeah.
and health, as they say, like
Right.
she needs assistance and she's still the one like
Hmm.
plotting and planning. It's like if she could plan it, so could he. Like get
Hmm.
mac and cheese.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
It doesn't,
Like
yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to
no,
be,
hungry
up
man,
to,
whatever
yeah. And
for
especially
them.
if if maybe he is working, as many hours as I'm working, right? Where he has a lot of stuff that he's doing. You can still figure out something where you can
Hmm.
still, it might be a little harder. Of course, it's like the next week when my wife has got it, it's going to be a little harder because like
Hmm.
the stuff that we split up now is going to be 100% on me, right? But it's still, that's what you do,
Yeah.
right? When I travel for my job, she also has to then pick up the side of the stuff. That's what you do as a parent, as a partner.
And the thing that kills me about this is she didn't know that was so she had no idea the food was gone
Right.
because she was looking at the freezer inside the house,
Hmm.
the other freezer's outside. So like she's eating food, meaning she's not prepping, she's not planning. It was just
Hmm.
gonna come to a day when she was gonna walk out there and it was gonna be empty. Okay, let's keep going because it ain't over.
That's
Okay.
not all.
No.
It's already she's not overreacting. That's the answer. And I don't
Hey,
think,
something could change. It won't, but it could.
okay,
Okay.
okay, let's hear it.
Immediately it's going to be a no. Okay. I asked him about it and he blamed it on our son first, which I know is BS because the kid hates all of my special food with a passion. Again, this woman is eating gluten free, like low
Mhm.
sugar, low carb.
Right. All the stuff kids love.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
what they crave.
Right.
There's no way he'd be sneaking my food. So again, the food that's missing is her food as well.
Hmm.
So I questioned my husband again, second time. He admitted it, said he'd been taking my meals to work as his lunch because he was too tired to make his own lunch before work. He had always made his own lunch up until now. He also said he was bored with the lunches he makes and my food provided quote unquote variety. I am exhausted. This recovery period is kicking my ass. Before surgery, I ran a mile every day. Now I barely have enough energy to walk up the stairs. I'm not supposed to lift more than 10 pounds. I'm not supposed to do anything more strenuous than walking. Even taking a shower is tiring right now. The anemia, dehydration, and lack of proper nutrition is making it worse because he ate all her food.
Right.
So, when he admitted to taking my food, I just started crying. He hasn't been much help after my surgery. My son, who's 11, has been doing all of the lifting for me and helping me with chores and cooking. When I started crying, he got disgusted and told me I was overreacting and being a baby. He refuses to make me new meals. He refuses to help me make new meals. He says it's almost been 2 weeks and I should be able to do stuff on my own. At this point, I'm seriously considering divorce. I mean, my son and I are already doing everything on our own already. And I know my kid won't eat my diet food. Am I overreacting? Also, I just found out he's raided my non perishable food stores in the pantry. It was mostly sugar free jello and pudding, stuff I can eat on the liquid diet. Pretty much everything is gone except for some sugar free orange yellow.
Like, first off, to the divorce thing, yes, absolutely. Like, because it's very clear this man does not care about her, does
Yeah.
not like have any sort of interest. And I feel very comfortable saying that there's no world where you would one knowing what your partner just went through,
Hmm.
gone through all that, go through and eat everything of theirs that they had without feeling any remorse for it and without attempting to replace it, right? To get more of it. There's no world where this guy actually cares about her. She is a servant to him that does stuff for him and provides for him, and that is it. There was no love there and there was no care there. And like I'm genuinely mad right now. This is
I can tell.
infuriating
Yeah.
that she because also for her to put this out there and then to wonder, does this make me a bad person?
Right. Exactly. To have to question that.
There's some sort of abuse going on there too that would get you to the mindset of wondering because that's so clear that it's a type of obviously there's varying levels of abuse, right? There's
Yeah.
different things, but there's something else going on there where he could do all of this clearly malicious. Like that's not even a oopsie, I ate
Hmm.
one of your pudding cups. All of your perishable stuff, all of your prepped food,
Hmm.
and like that's on purpose. Like there's zero. Why does he even want it? It's a liquid diet.
Exactly. Like, why would he even want this food? I'm going to read a comment to that point that I
Yeah.
thought was pretty profound. This is wildly malicious. There's a lot going on here, but let's think. You made liquid, gluten-free, sugar-free food, obviously for surgical recovery, and he took it for lunch? He suddenly got a massive craving for sugar-free puddings and soups? That is not what a fully functional, healthy person
Mm-mm.
chooses to eat when given a choice. Do you really think he decided to eat your restrictive lunches for 2 weeks because he was too tired to make a sandwich? Do you really think he found them to be full of variety? If you are miserable on this diet, why would he subscribe to it voluntarily? He took the food to punish you for being sick. This is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely divorce territory. At best, it was incompetence. At worst, it was malicious. Either way, his response to your understandable, exhausting crying is all you need to know. He has no remorse and he will not care for you. And when you can't care for him, he will punish you. You should leave for your own health and safety.
I don't even think you could say at best it was incompetence. I think
No, I don't think so either.
at best it was a tantrum, right?
Yes,
That
yes.
word's bad. At best it was a little, it was his pouting of
Yeah.
like, well, I'll show you.
It's even more than pouting though, because like it's a malicious action. Like
Right,
pouting at
right.
least is like, like, oh, he won't
Hmm.
talk to me or he's quiet. Him
Right.
going into the pantry, raiding her food, like, and you know what's crazy too? I just thought of this. He was pulling food from the freezer she couldn't see
Hmm.
so that she wasn't able to gauge what he was doing. So he had to
Hmm.
like he could have gone for the one that was in the house, but
Hmm.
he chose not to. He
Hmm.
specifically was hiding it from her. So eventually there would be the surprise of I
Hmm.
ate all your food and you have nothing.
What now? And that's what, and I want to apologize even for you. I'm trying to get the word tantrum out of my vocabulary because I think there's ableist undertones to
Is
it,
it?
and yeah, there's it's a whole thing. Like as I'm learning about my own children and researching and learning about stuff, but it and so because I think it's used in place of someone that can't control what's happening, right? You know, when
Mm,
it's somebody having like it's something beyond their control. But this it's not even an appropriate, even in the
yeah.
worst case scenario, even in the way that term is used, it doesn't apply to him because that
Right.
wasn't something that was beyond his control.
An
It was a
outburst of
malicious
some.
act. It was not just something that just happened,
Yeah.
right? Because it was very clearly there's no world where this was an accident. That it could happen one time as an accident. Right. Oh, I'm
Right.
hungry. Oh, I wonder what this tastes like. Oh, here's some soup. I'm gonna eat this soup.
Yeah.
Oops.
This has no taste because it has nothing in it.
Yeah, huh. But to raid through everything, that is a conscious act of punishment for what she's going through.
It's so like meticulous. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
when I think about what someone does to someone, this is like I did an episode with Kate where this guy was tightening all the jars in her
Hmm.
fridge to
Hmm.
torture her essentially over and over and over, and even jars he didn't use, and it only happened when he was living with her or was staying with
Hmm.
her, and it was just like you think at first you're like, well, that's dumb, but sometimes you have to really dig deep into like why would they do it and like how often they had to participate in it.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, it's like he consistently was going to the fridge, taking her food, not telling her, was going into the pantry, eating the only food she could eat. Like he
Mm-hmm.
knows this. He's been living with someone with celiac. So like this is not new to him. You know what I mean? The idea of my
Mm-hmm.
partner has certain foods that only they can eat.
Mm-hmm.
That does make a big difference. If you live with someone with like who's
Right.
like, you know, gluten has a gluten intolerance, like, and you eat their gluten-free bread,
Right.
that's messed up. They're gonna be pissed
Right.
at you. You
Right.
know? So this is not new to him. It's not like, oh God,
Yeah.
I didn't know. Like this
Yeah.
was something purposeful. He did it over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something so malicious and like, I don't know, nefarious and
Yeah.
scary about this constant act that he was doing
Mm-hmm.
over time. So for 2 weeks, he cleared it out in 2 weeks. How much of it was he eating?
Right. How much did she make? She probably made a fair amount to make sure she'd have extra. Like,
Yeah.
if you can't trust your partner when you're at your weakest and at your worst,
Yes.
then you don't have a partner. Like,
That's scary.
that's scary. It is, because
Yeah.
what happens if something worse happens,
Mm-hmm.
right? What happens, and if like, and they have a child together, and I
Yeah.
get it. It's like when you have a child with somebody, it's extremely difficult to leave, right? To in
Yeah.
any situation, we don't know their financial situation.
Well, we do know. She said
Well, I
they're
guess she,
it's
yeah,
tight.
right. And so like, I get it, and that's not. I think it's often easier as we sit on a podcast, to say like, leave him, like, do
Yeah.
all those things than real life. And I always try to be acknowledge that it's not always that easy. But if you have the means,
Yeah.
you are going to be, there was nothing in your life that will be worse with him not in it if he's willing to do this sort of stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing in your life. There's even studies that show that women, that divorced single mothers tend to have spend less time doing housework and other chores as single mothers than they did when they were married, right? Because it's not that they lost a husband, they lost another child. They
Yeah.
lost a grown up that they were married to another
Well,
child.
that's the thing is if someone is only taking and then taking
Hmm.
like resources, like so food, so you're having to cook extra, right?
Hmm.
If they're only taking and then refusing to help with any of the labor,
Hmm.
then that's all they do is take. So of course, when left to your own devices, you have less work to do because they're contributing less in
Hmm.
to take care of, like less laundry, less dishes,
Hmm.
cooking. You have to cook less. Like it makes sense, but it just shows you how little these type of men contribute to the
Hmm.
household. And in this case, he's refusing to help her even when she's ill. She needs
Right.
help. Like
Right.
this isn't just like your everyday like dishes, you're
Hmm.
not doing the dishes. She's saying I physically cannot do this.
Hmm.
And he's like, sorry, I guess our son can help you.
Hmm.
Like what? Like this, yeah, this is edging into like serious like
Yeah.
concern for me.
It could lead to something far worse. Like, if
Yeah.
it's at this point already, and I think that's one of those more obvious, I think, red flags for a marriage is when you, because I've seen people even in my own life that do this, where they start doing things to sabotage the other person, and they start,
Mm,
like, it's almost like, oh well, I'll show you, I'm
right.
going to set you up for failure, like where it's consistently becomes this like competition to like harm the other. And it's not harm, because I think we always think of harm as being like physical abuse or sexual
Sure.
abuse, right? But when you're starts off, it always starts off in these little ways,
A
in these subtle
hundred
ways.
percent. I say that all the time
Hmm.
because people will be like, that's like the dumb stuff that, red pillars online are like, well, men hurt physically and women hurt emotionally. And I'm always like,
Hmm.
um, don't you think that if they're physically harming someone, they probably started
Hmm.
with emotionally harming them, being
Hmm.
cold to them, abusing them, like mentally, emotionally?
Hmm.
Like it always starts there.
Also, as if there's no emotional component to physical harm,
Right. Like it
right?
makes me sad,
That
when someone,
hurts, but at least he loves me. Like,
yeah,
that is what we'll say, but
I
like,
still
there's.
feel loved. I'm not emotionally wounded at all.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's just bizarro, but yeah, it's often the little things that stack up on each other. It's this
Hmm.
slow just kind of chipping away at someone to the point that
Hmm.
they would ask, am I overreacting for being upset that my husband ate all the meals I cooked that to support me after surgery? Like that's how you get to that point is someone
Hmm.
constantly questioning you. I mean, even to the point where she's upset and he's like, "Oh, you're being a baby."
Mm-hmm.
That's how that happens. Like she's
Mm-hmm.
being devalued, she's being disregarded, her emotions are being cast aside, and how she's
Mm-hmm.
feeling. Like it's so interesting that he says being a baby because like you're being the baby.
Yeah.
You're the one who can't take
Mm-hmm.
care of yourself. You're the one who can't make breakfast or lunch for yourself. You're the one that's
Mm-hmm.
stealing her food from her. Like that's a baby.
Right, that's the part of it, right? I have to put it's the it's a I don't know if this is part of Darbo, but like the idea like this is uh deflecting, right? This is
Hmm.
I can't be the baby, you're the baby,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If I
yeah.
if I can convince you that you're the one being childish, then you can't see that I'm the actual one
That's the
that's acting childish.
reverse victim and offender.
Right, right. That's what, yeah.
So yeah, and I mean, I think that is it. I think he is like
Hmm.
because he probably knows that she is feeling a little, like
Hmm.
infantilized in a sense because she can't do things for herself like she normally can. She's a
Hmm.
runner. She can barely take a couple steps. She's exhausted.
Hmm.
Like I'm sure she does feel like she is, isn't providing like she should, or she isn't living up to the standard that she's used to. Like it is infantilizing to be that sick or to have surgery when you
Hmm.
you, you are put in a state of feeling like a child because you can't take
Hmm.
care of yourself like you usually would. And so I think it's interesting that he uses that. He's like, "Oh, you're being a
Hmm.
baby," because it's like, screw you,
Hmm.
buddy. Like to say that to someone who's trying to recover from surgery after you ate all their food and then like are
Hmm.
not taking care of them, to be like, you're just a baby. Like,
Hmm.
where do you get off? Like, I feel like that's like the worst thing you could say to her. I'm sure she's feeling horrible. And
Right.
then like for her to finally show the emotion she's feeling, and part of this is just pure exhaustion, right? Because
Hmm.
she's anemic. Like she
Hmm.
is not well, she's not feeling well. And like for him to just be like, ugh, like, oh my God, like the lack of
Yeah.
care, compassion, and concern for his wife is astounding.
I think, and you see this in a lot of aspects of her life where people can't separate. He's allowed to be upset at the situation for
Hmm.
being uncomfortable. That doesn't give you permission to then be angry at the person who's also involved in the situation where she's also uncomfortable and struggling during the situation. Like I'll give you a perfect example from this past year when I had my surgery, right? Is I came home and obviously I'm supposed to be recovering and literally I've shared this before. I think I don't know if to you or on here as I was waiting to be discharged from the hospital in a pretty weak state at this point because I've been in a hospital bed for 3 days and just had surgery. My wife calls me and she has two broken toes. And so I come home and have to take care of her because she's literally immobile. So even though I'm not feeling great, I can move, right? And I can do stuff, and she's not able to do all these things, right? Was I upset at the situation? Yeah, I was upset at the situation because I was ready to be pampered.
Take care of me.
I was ready to and not just pampered in the sense of like I want to be treated like a king, but as I was ready to relax in my own home,
Right.
right? After being a hospital is very uncomfortable.
You're too big for the bed.
It's yeah, I'm too big for the bed.
Literally.
I'm yeah, the I have a bad back, and so my back was hurting. I've all the other things that go along with being
Yeah.
sedated and other things. I was excited to kind of get home and relax in my bed and just recover, right? And so of course I was upset at the situation. I didn't take it out on her. I didn't hide her crutches, right? I didn't make things more
Jesus. Yeah.
difficult for her situation. We were both upset at the situation. She also was unhappy about having two broken toes.
It's a crazy thing is, like this was planned. He knew
Hmm.
about this.
Hmm.
She knew about this. And not only that, she did everything she could to help him.
Right,
She
right,
did everything she could to
right.
tee him up for success.
And that's the extra. That's the frosting on the cake, right? It's that she did more than she ever should have had to
Yes.
do in this situation, and he's still very clearly trying to punish her.
Well, and like he weaponized her preparation, which is kind of
Hmm.
crazy because, like, had she not prepped, he wouldn't have been able to do that. So then, like, he knew that she had prepped and done all these things. So then, because she had prepped and it was in a different location, he could secretly eat all her food.
Right.
So that all of a sudden she would just have nothing. It's like,
Hmm.
oh my God, dude. So not only did you not care about the prep or appreciate the prep, you weaponized the prep to eat
Hmm.
her food in secret. And like, I don't believe that you thought the soup with no chunks in it was
Yeah.
delicious.
That's never there. that
Yeah.
very clearly is only here for this very specific
In
reason.
a prepped box.
Yeah, yeah.
That was so delicious. You want it, you needed to keep going back for that. The food that people like
Hmm.
some people's least favorite part is the food after surgery
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
Like you needed to eat that, you were dying to eat that, you're craving that.
Yeah.
Like, bro, you're like I can't think of anything other than like I'm punishing you for being sick and not taking care of me. Even though you did.
I don't see another. If anybody listening can see a perspective on this, because sometimes we do get blinders on. I don't think we have them on in this case. Where there's another way to view this, let us know. But I'm like I can't think of anything else.
Well,
Like
yeah, I can't think of one, but even if there was some crazy thing, he lied about it when he found out.
right,
He blamed the son, which is
right,
wild. You throw your kid under the
yeah,
bus? Like,
yeah,
come on, man.
yeah,
Also, bad lie. And
yeah.
then so it really does have the classic manipulator, right? So he's does something really shitty, he gets caught, he blames somebody else. When that doesn't work, he attacks her, which is when he's like, "You're being
Mm,
a baby. It's been
it's
two
already been
weeks."
2 weeks. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so regardless of any explanation you could give, which,
Hmm.
explaining is not excusing,
Hmm.
that behavior, I can't, that's detestable. That's awful.
I was on a liquid diet for a few days, and I was so weak
Yeah.
from being it takes it because your body needs more than
Needs
liquid, right?
food.
It's
Yeah.
yeah. I was already mad enough, but she didn't she say, maybe I'm reading into this, that he ate her pudding as well?
And
Like that was the
Jello.
one. Yeah,
And left her
that
the
was
orange Jello, the worst kind.
that was the best part of the liquid diet, was my little
Yes.
treat, my little snack at the end was the
Yep.
pudding and the Jello, and man,
I think she said it was no sugar, but it has a like
there's a
flavors to it.
sweetness
There's
to it. Yeah,
weight to
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. When you're on a liquid, oh God, I feel like I've done it a couple times, but just a nightmare. Yeah,
I
I
did
mean
it on
he's
purpose back in college when I thought I did the lemonade cleanse thing.
oh, like the cayenne pepper one
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
oh
I
my
was
God, that was a night. I had girls in high school
yeah.
dropping like flies on that one. They'd
Oh, that
pass
was the
out.
worst.
There,
Yeah,
it
it
was
was.
literally for those who don't know, there was a diet that went around. I don't remember the name, but like the first couple
Yeah,
days was like cayenne pepper, lemon water, and like honey or something. Wasn't there something else in there?
yeah. I think there's honey in it. Yeah.
And that was it. And I'm not
Hmm.
joking. There was girls who were dropping weight, but also
Hmm.
dropping to the floor, like passing
Hmm.
out from lack of
I
nutrition.
got through 7 days
Of that?
of that. I'm surprised I didn't. This is where it shows how bad. Why I think it's important to have voices fighting and talking against all this bad health
Hmm.
information online, and this like bad dating information. This bad information's been around for a long time, right? That was
Yeah.
what, like 15 years ago, something like that. It
Yeah.
was
When I was in high school. So yeah, it was 15 years
yeah.
ago.
And so I remember, and there was also another aspect of it where you do a saltwater cleanse with it every morning.
Ugh.
It's bad. You drink the salt water and you're just on the toilet
No. It's
for
like when people
hours.
chug apple cider
Yeah,
vinegar and stuff. You're like, ah,
yeah.
yeah, it's not worth it.
Long story short, uh, that was dumb. I don't know what I was.
It was
I was
not
trying to make it a
good. It
point.
was
It
not
just made me
healthy
think of
for
it.
people. They gained the weight back
Yeah.
because they weren't
Yep.
starving themselves.
Mhm.
Um,
That was when I was already at my thinnest, and what I wasn't happy with. I definitely had some eating issues
yeah.
that I wasn't aware of at the time. But I was at my thinnest, and I did that then because I was like, well, this will help me get
I
to the
could get
next level
thinner.
of. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Chesko. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
that was what was going on with the girls. Like they were all panicked
Hmm.
about being just like the way their bodies are.
But you were able to package this. No, no, I'm doing this to cleanse my body of
Right.
toxins. I'm
Don't you
doing
love
it.
that when it's a cleanse?
I'm not doing it to lose. Well, I mean, it's a great little side benefit, I
I'm
guess, even
not.
though that was in hindsight, that was because I'd convinced myself I wasn't doing it for that. It was 100% to lose weight.
People can do cleanses. There's like liver, like detox, like all of
Mhm.
us. I believe in those, but there are a lot of people who are trying to lose weight who will do a risky cleanse. There are cleanses
Mhm.
that are healthier, I think, like clean eating and stuff. And then there are things that you should not do that will
Mhm.
harm your body.
Like drinking cayenne pepper and lemonade and chugging salt water every morning.
It's crazy what we do.
Yeah.
Anyways, but someone who is forced on a liquid diet due
Yeah.
to a
Mhm.
medical necessity. Like,
And this had to be, she didn't say what surgery she had, but if it's a 2 weeks,
no, she said it was surgery, didn't she?
no, she didn't say what kind of surgery. Like
It was
my
like
point is,
intestine and something else.
it's something big though. If it's like it's a major
Stomach and
surgery.
intestines. If it's in your
Yeah, if you have
intestines,
2 weeks of liquid diet at
yeah,
least, that's a major
yeah.
surgery that she has to deal with this bullshit.
And he's not helping her. Like, he's not even taking care of her. That's what makes me sad. Like,
Hmm.
obviously the food is really messed up. But
Hmm.
just like the fact that he's not like taking care of her, getting her
Hmm.
drinks, like waiting on her, like, oh, you don't deserve her.
Yeah, you're supposed to be pampering a person, and that is supposed to be like their time to focus on healing
Right.
and not focus because the stress also now he's putting her under is going to because stress harms your body, right?
Now,
That
yeah, she has to cook and he will not help her cook. Yeah.
hmm
I think we need to pay more attention when people clearly show us they do not give a shit about us. Like, honestly, because there's so much, like, in my time, I have had friends dating people who have shown blatant, if not just like disregard for them, but like
yeah.
contempt for them, and have done things that are harmful and malicious. And they're like, oh, they just don't get it, or like they were really
Hmm.
tired, or like to his, I'm tired, I can't make my own lunch.
Right.
Like, and I'm not saying it's hurtful at all. That's not what I mean. But I just mean
No.
like we got to take it seriously when people show us they don't care about us.
Hmm.
Doing harm sometimes just as bad can be not caring if harm comes to you in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like he may
Hmm.
not, he's not actively trying to. Oh, he's not like physically harming her with his two hands, right? But what
Hmm.
he's doing is 100% harmful to her and shows a complete disregard for her and disregard for her health and her well-being. And if something bad happens to her, he's like,
Hmm.
and I think that that's the harder one to figure out is like if someone does not care what happens to you and does things that could impact you in such a negative way, where it's like, oh, well, that's on you now. I guess you have to make more meals. It's like, no, that is, they are harming you. Just because
Hmm.
they're not putting their hands on you doesn't mean they're not harming you. I
Right.
mean, you need to take that seriously because this is how it gets. I doubt this is the first time he's done something like this. I doubt this
Hmm.
is the first time he's been selfish. And
Hmm.
now she is barely functioning post surgery with nothing to eat and a husband that won't help, and she can't even lift 10 pounds.
Hmm.
And now she's left with that. And like, I wish we taught people how to recognize these signs
Right.
of abusive people earlier, because I hate that this is how often they find out. And like
Hmm.
she didn't even find out till Reddit.
Hmm.
That's crazy. She had to ask.
It's because we normalize these actions. We normalize this stuff that, oh, well, I mean, at least he's not hitting me, right? At least I've heard that before, oh,
Yeah.
well,
Could be
he's,
worse.
he could be worse. Yeah, of course it could always be worse. There's always
Right.
worse. It doesn't mean you don't deserve better though. And
Right.
that's the sad reality of why I think it's like I said, why we talk about these sort of issues and why it's important to point these out is because I do think there is a significant portion of our society that doesn't know that there is better, right? That
Right.
doesn't know
Or
that it
it's
can,
normal. Yeah.
that it, yeah, that where it's just like, oh, well, I mean, that's what my dad did,
Oh,
right?
that's
That's
real.
who, because, and then the son's in the house right now in this particular situation, seeing their father act this way, right? What's he going to think is the expectation when he gets older? And because, and then the cycle just continues to the
100%.
point, and so you need to make intercede or else your kids are going to just continue doing the same thing. There's going to be some poor other woman 10, 15, 20 years from now that is also going through this exact same thing with now your son who's just acting like his dad did.
That's so real. Like there's so many. I mean, I do think people are responsible for themselves, but I also believe that like so
Hmm.
many young men
Hmm.
witness horrible behavior from their fathers and then think that that's normal and then
Hmm.
are like, "What's your problem?" To the
Hmm.
woman when has a reasonable objection to their bad behavior. They're like,
Hmm.
you're the weird one, you know? And you know, it's interesting. I've said this before. Like, I honestly believe it took me so long to come out because of how normalized it is for women to not like their partners because of bad behavior, right?
Right.
Because like I would be like, oh, I don't really like stuff with boys, you know, and they would
Hmm.
be like, oh, me either. You know, like,
Hmm.
oh, like because boys pressure girls to do stuff sooner than they
Hmm.
want to, and boys wanted more from girls than they wanted to give, and
Hmm.
um, there was so much pressure, and like, So it was a common conversation that girls would
Hmm.
say they weren't interested or didn't want to, or you hear it with
Hmm.
grown women and
Right.
their husbands. Like
Hmm.
how leave me alone. Like I don't like,
Hmm.
right? And so when I was young, I was like, oh, okay. And I'd be like, I don't know, we're not getting along. I feel like something off. They're like, oh, my boyfriend always annoys me. He just did
Hmm.
these 5 things to me that were terrible. And
Hmm.
so it was just like so normal for
Oh, don't worry. I don't get any pleasure out of sex either. Or it's like, like the
yeah,
like because that is a normalized
it
talking
that
point
actually is true. I
among
don't have
straight
any
women.
enjoyment. But it's like
So,
it's I genuinely believe that that played a part in it taking so long for me to figure out because that was the conversation was girls,
mhm,
at the girls into younger women, young women, whatever, up into
right.
what was I in my like 20s, early 20s, um, saying like I don't like the
Hmm.
way he treats me. I don't like the way I feel with him. He does these
Hmm.
things that don't feel right, but that's just kind of the way it is. And I got into a really bad, I won't get too into it, but like I was in a very bad relationship in my early 20s when he was in his late 20s. And there
Hmm.
was so much of his behavior that I didn't recognize as abuse. And it got into like, it got much worse. I won't get into that, but it did get really bad.
Hmm.
And it was because I did not recognize the smaller things. When
Hmm.
he would just criticize or be degrading or like or just a devaluing. Like there's just these little like they'll start where you're the best and then they'll devalue you and get you to question
Hmm.
yourself and make you think you're not doing enough. And like to me it's always let me get you to focus so entirely on yourself about how
Hmm.
you're not enough, how you need to change, what you're doing wrong so you don't have a second to think about what I am doing and how I
Hmm.
am not right for you. Like
Hmm.
to your point when you're like, well, they don't even know anything's better. I think half the time they're so convinced they're horrible. I
Hmm.
suck. I'm the worst. I'm not a good
Right.
partner because that's what abusive men do because then oh, if I'm fixated on myself and how I need to change, I don't even have a second to point the
Hmm.
finger in your direction and get
Hmm.
you to change. And I think it's a really, really sad pattern. And we see that here because the question is not, is he the asshole? The question is, am I overreacting?
Hmm.
Because she thinks she could be the one that's in the wrong.
That you're underreacting, like the
Right.
opposite of what's going on there. Hmm. And there've been videos I've critiqued of these dating coaches where they're literally giving the advice though of do not compliment her.
Yep.
Do not like this is there's a lot of them. It's not like this is like one bad advice. Like there's a
No.
lot of this. Do not make her feel special. Do not make her feel like she's the quote unquote prize,
Yep.
right? You need to make her know like or to psychologically abuse her to the point where she doesn't believe she deserves you.
Yeah.
And that's when you get her.
That's the advice. I'm like,
It's
that's abusing someone.
it's literally it's just abuse.
It's like
Yeah.
that's I always compare it to like stealing
Hmm.
because it's like hey, I got a
Hmm.
crazy thing. If you want to have this item, you could just go up and take it. And it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, but that's wrong because you're harming someone. You're harming the
Right.
person that you're stealing from. No
Right.
shit. It's easier to do that.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
but I really want it.
I know. It's like, it's not advice. It's a
Yeah.
crime. It's a
Hmm.
crime. It's like that
Hmm.
Chase Bank glitch that was just
Hmm. Oh
fraud.
God, yeah. It
You know
was
what I'm
just check
saying?
fraud. Yeah.
But that's the thing is it's like
Yeah.
no, you're just abusing her. Like it's like they'll
Hmm.
say like oh she only wants a bad boy, so just be mean to her, make her think you don't like her. It's
Hmm.
like that's lying. That's
Yeah.
manipulating. That's
Yeah.
not a dating hack. That's not like a tip. That's just
Hmm.
doing the same thing that toxic men have done
I don't
forever.
understand why she cheated on me after this. Because she doesn't like
You're
you.
abusing her. Like
Yeah.
if you get her to like her you by lying to her and
Hmm.
making her feel less than,
Hmm.
then all you've done is abuse her. And okay, maybe she got with you, but that you're a bad person. Like you're
Hmm.
doing harm. Like that's not
Yeah.
dating tips. Like that's the thing that's crazy to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
you could really have more money if you stole the cash out of her purse. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, duh,
Yeah.
but you would be harming.
It is wild to me how obvious like the dots connect in some of these things because
Mm.
obviously and this we've talked about this before too but I'm cheating I don't believe is ever okay, right? I'm never okay with cheating, uh but this is weird having said that if when it happens, I'm not surprised in these with these guys that are like, if you are constantly abusing somebody and constantly harming them, and then somebody else actually gives them a glimmer of, oh,
Yep.
you actually like me, you're actually a good person who likes me, you don't have to treat me this way, and they stray and they commit adultery, or they cheat on them. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't want to say there's an exception for it, but it's like, I get it. Like, I get why and why is it that so many of these guys constantly talk about the worry about their partner cheating on them?
Yeah.
Because they're all they're doing is abusing the women they're with.
Yeah, and I've said I think most of
Mhm.
the guys who say the cheating thing have not been cheated on because like
Mhm.
it's just so
It's
wildly
just this,
popular in that sphere
yeah,
when you
yeah,
don't hear it everywhere else. Like
right,
cheating
right,
is not gendered. Anybody
right,
can cheat, right? So this
right,
idea of like just in these men, women are all cheaters. But
right.
um I have known, I don't know, at least a handful of people that some of them
Mhm.
didn't cheat, some of them just talked to men, but like who were in
Mhm.
very very abusive, toxic relationships
Mhm.
that because somebody on the outside acknowledged them, treated them like a
Mhm.
human, made them feel beautiful, like made them see they weren't this disgusting waste of space, like
Right.
gave them like it's almost like living in the dark and someone shines a light.
Mhm.
Like I don't think cheating's okay either. I'm very much
Mhm.
against cheating. Even in those situations, I'm against cheating.
Right,
But
right. And to be
if
clear, that
cheating,
is, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
if cheating is what gets anyone away from
Mhm.
an abuser who's
Mhm.
abusing them,
Mhm.
lesser harm, I would say that is the
Yeah.
less harmful thing. But I have seen that because it's like these men will get people, I think we have to recognize isolation for what it is. They'll
Mhm.
say, well, I don't trust other men, and like, I
Mhm.
don't know what your friends are like. They'll often isolate you from your friends. They'll
Mhm.
not like your family, or your family won't like them because they treat you like shit, right?
Right.
So they get you isolated and in their bubble and in their world where all you're hearing is them. The only voice is theirs and the only
Mhm.
feedback is from them. And so they just break women down. Again, this can
Mhm.
be any gender. We're talking about men, but it can be any gender.
Right.
It's just common when it comes to men who are misogynist because they already inherently feel like they're better than
Mhm.
them. So it's easier to do this behavior to someone you see as less than yourself.
Mhm.
So yeah, they just isolate them and break them down. And like sometimes you do need an outside source that's not your
Mhm.
gal pals, someone
Mhm.
who you find attractive maybe or just as attracted to you to say you have value. Like it's
Mhm.
sad. I think
Mhm.
it's sad when you think
It's so
about it.
sad.
Like
Yeah.
that just a person seeing them as human. Like
Mhm.
because I some of the most beautiful people I know inside and out, I've seen in these relationships and they'll say things that I'm like,
Yeah.
what? They're like, "Oh,
Mhm.
I'm just ugly or I'm overweight,"
Yep.
because that's the
Yep.
big one with these dudes is making them feel
Yeah.
overweight.
Yep.
Or I'm just dumb or I just can't keep the house together. I'm such a mess. And I'm like, you're the most type A person I know. What does that mean? Like, what is
Mhm.
what does a mess mean to you?
Mhm.
And then these dudes it's like they're never living up to the standard that they're expecting of the woman. Like ever.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
if this guy did this to her, like if she ate his food when he was having surgery,
Right.
please.
Right.
Please. So who's
Uh,
yes or no overreacting?
no, she's not overreacting. She is the opposite of overreacting. She needs to
Underreacting.
react more. We need more reaction.
We need more reaction.
Yes.
That's a cowbell reference.
Yep.
Oh shit. Well, thank you everybody for listening. Let us know your thoughts on this. Is she overreacting? I'm pretty sure we're all gonna have the same thought there. Don't forget, we have our Patreon where we do our pre-show every single week. It is always unhinged, but it is fun.
And Reagan's back, so it's going to be out on time.
You know what? That's one thing I'm good for is timeliness.
That's it.
Yes, go.
In case anybody is just new to this
Dynamic.
podcast, I'm not actually mean to Reagan. Well, I mean,
Not actually.
not actually mean. Like, we have both given consent to each other to be mean to each other.
I heard how you and Kaylee talk to each other, and I was like, what is that? Because you guys
I
are
know.
so nice to each other. You guys, like, you're so great. You're so wonderful. And you both are, obviously. But I was listening, I was like, what is this? What is this dynamic? Why aren't you ripping on each other?
If you read the text messages between Reagan and I, sometimes you would think we hate each other.
Savage. Absolutely terrible.
Although, and for the record, she is much meaner to me than I am to her.
That is not true. That is not true.
No, I think it is
You
because
literally screenshot. No, you have screenshotted me.
This is one time, and I felt terrible about it.
Don't come for me for meanness, because I also say a lot of nice things to you.
I say nice thing, do I not?
No, you do. I'm just joking.
Guess you got to do better.
If you want the validation.
Oh man, this was not the episode to have this back and forth on.
Anyways, friends, we can do this off the air. But thank you for listening. Do we have anything? Check out our socials. Do we have anything else?
I think that's about it.
Did you want to confess anything?
I ate my wife's dinner. No.
You did not. You would never.
I would never.
I meant your love.
I love you all, and we're happy to have you back, Reagan. We all missed you.
Oh my God, thank you so much. After all the mean things you've said, I very much appreciate that. All right, friends, we love you, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
I got some good advice for you.